Welcome to the 80/20 Business Blueprint, maximizing results with minimal effort, written and published by Mindful Literary. Imagine achieving more by doing less, not through shortcuts, but through clarity, focus, and strategic action. This audiobook isn't just another business guide. It's a roadmap to transforming the way you think, act, and lead. At its core lies one of the most powerful principles in business and life, the 80/20 rule, also known as the Pareto Principle. At some point, you may have noticed this rule in action. 20% of your clients bring in 80% of your revenue, 20% of your efforts create 80% of your results, and 20% of your habits drive 80% of your success. But despite its simplicity, most people and businesses fail to leverage this principle to its fullest potential. In this audiobook, we'll break down the science, the strategy, and the mindset behind 80/20 thinking. You'll discover how to identify the vital few activities that drive the majority of your outcomes, and more importantly, how to eliminate the trivial many that hold you back. We'll explore how the 80/20 principle can optimize leadership, marketing, sales, operations, and even your personal life. Through case studies, actionable insights, and step-by-step frameworks, you'll gain the tools to transform not just your business, but your mindset and approach to success. This book isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about focusing your time, energy, and resources on what truly moves the needle. So, whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or someone simply looking to reclaim focus in a world of endless demands, this journey is for you. Let's unlock the power of 80/20 thinking and redefine what success looks like: efficient, impactful, and aligned with your highest priorities. Welcome to your 80/20 blueprint. Let's begin. Introduction: the hidden power of 80/20ths in business. I still remember the first time I truly understood the power of the 80/20ths principle. I was sitting in a cramped conference room, surrounded by exhausted colleagues and a stack of printouts tall enough to rival the Eiffel Tower. Our team had spent weeks trying to figure out why our company's profit margins had flatlined, despite the fact that we were working harder than ever. No matter how many late nights and working weekends we logged, we couldn't move the needle on revenue. Our efforts seemed scattered: marketing campaigns that fell flat, endless product updates that no one was using, partnerships that never panned out. A guest consultant strolled in one morning, looking annoyingly calm in the midst of our chaos. She asked if we had ever heard of the Pareto Principle, also known as the 80/20 rule. We traded blank stares. She went on to explain that more often than not, 80% of a given outcome stems from 20% of the causes. The moment she said it, it felt as if someone had finally flipped on the light switch in a darkened room. All of our spreadsheets and charts started to make sense. We realized that a mere fraction of our clients, around 15%, were responsible for close to 70% of our revenue. A handful of our product features attracted over half of our total user engagement. And yet, we'd been pouring our energy into the other 80% of activities that offered only marginal returns. That was my wake-up call. Something inside me wanted to explore this concept further. Why does so little produce so much? And why do we waste so many resources on what yields so little? What I discovered became a cornerstone of my professional life, and it can become yours too. The rule that changes everything. The 80/20 principle isn't just a neat statistic or some quirky phenomenon. It's a lens that can reshape how you see your business, your strategies, and even your life. Rooted in the observations of Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who noticed that a tiny fraction of people owned most of the land in Italy. This principle has since shown up everywhere, from how pea plants produce most of their pods in a garden to how tech giants derive the majority of revenue from a few hit products. When applied to business, the 80/20 rule suggests that a minority of inputs, like customers, products, or services, drive the majority of results. Apple's meteoric rise isn't fueled by an endless product line, but by a single product category, the iPhone, that continues to generate a massive slice of their revenue. Amazon's colossal success similarly hinges on a relatively small segment of bestsellers that dominate the sales charts. By zeroing in on these vital few and relentlessly refining them, both companies found extraordinary success without drowning in a sea of low-impact initiatives. You don't have to be a tech titan to harness this power, either. Whether you're selling handcrafted candles, running an e-commerce store, or managing a global conglomerate, the 80/20 principle can help you identify and lean into what truly works and eliminate what doesn't. spotting the few that drive the many. Real-world stories paint an even clearer picture of why the 80-20 rule is so potent. Take a look at any massively successful company, and you'll see they often thrive on a few core offerings. Starbucks, while the menu is filled with dozens of items, only a handful consistently generate the highest sales, like the classic latte, cold brews, and seasonal favorites. Netflix. Originally, Netflix's pivot from DVD rentals to streaming video was a bet on the few that drive the many. Over time, 20% of their most popular shows and originals attracted the largest subscriber base, fueling massive growth. Southwest Airlines. By focusing on a single type of airplane and simpler route structures, they slashed costs and achieved operational efficiency that others in the airline industry struggled to match. In each case, a select set of products or services outshone everything else, rewarding the company's focus. The results were astounding: greater profit margins, loyal customer bases, and clear brand identities that soared above the competition. Now, imagine what might happen if you took an honest look at your own business. Which offerings are quietly outperforming the rest? Which clients always come back for more? Which tasks in your daily routine consistently produce the best outcomes? The moment you spot these golden 20%, you'll have found your key to exponential results. Why most miss the mark? You might be wondering, if it's this effective, why doesn't everyone leverage the 80-20 principle? The truth is, many business owners, teams, and even entire organizations struggle with it, often for reasons that are more psychological than strategic. Number 1. The illusion of fairness. There's a deep-seated belief that we owe every product, department, or client the same level of attention. This equal opportunity mindset feels fair, but in practice it dilutes focus and resources. We spread ourselves too thin, turning our best performers into casualties of fairness. Number 2. Fear of missing out. Letting go of the lesser 80% can trigger a fear that we might miss a hidden gem or an unexpected opportunity. It's like clinging to outdated inventory in hopes it might become valuable someday. While caution is healthy, this approach often prevents us from doubling down on what actually works. Number 3. Hustle culture and busyness. We live in an era that glorifies long working hours and equates effort with virtue. If we're not buried under a mountain of tasks, we must not be doing enough, right? The 80-20 principle challenges this by asking us to do less, but more strategically. This can feel counterintuitive or even lazy to those steeped in hustle culture. Number 4. Data blindness. In many businesses, people simply haven't taken the time or effort to analyze the data. Without hard numbers and metrics, it's easy to go with gut feelings or assumptions, overlooking the handful of inputs that truly drive success. Collectively, these habits and fears keep businesses stuck in a cycle of doing too many things mediocrely, rather than a few things exceptionally. Overcoming them requires a shift in mindset, acknowledging that success doesn't come from endless effort, but from a focused investment in the right areas. This book is an invitation to change the way you think about efficiency, growth, and success. Each chapter will guide you through identifying your 80-20 sweet spots, implementing targeted strategies, and building a business culture that rewards focus and excellence. By the time you finish, you'll not only have a deeper understanding of how to pinpoint the 20% that truly matters, you'll also have a roadmap for acting on it to revolutionize your business outcomes. You may discover that focusing on the vital few sparks more creativity, profits, and genuine satisfaction in your work. Or you may find yourself pushing through old fears of letting go, only to realize that what remains is stronger and more potent than ever before. Either way, the 80-20 principle is here to empower you, to show you that bigger results don't always require bigger efforts. Sometimes, the smallest levers move the biggest mountains. Let's begin this journey together. The next chapters will delve into how the 80-20 principle applies to everything from marketing and sales to team building and operational processes. Stay open, stay curious, and prepare to shift your focus in ways that can forever change the trajectory of your business. Chapter 1. The Science Behind 80 of 20. It's fascinating how a single observation, initially rooted in economics, can ripple through so many areas of life. The 80-20 principle feels almost like a law of nature, quietly guiding patterns of productivity, wealth, and even personal relationships. To truly grasp why this principle exerts such a profound influence, we need to venture back to the late 19th century, when a curious economist named Vilfredo Pareto had a groundbreaking insight. The origins of the Pareto Principle, from economic observation to universal law. A surprising discovery in Italy. Vilfredo Pareto wasn't setting out to create a global productivity mantra. He was simply studying land ownership in Italy. Yet, to his astonishment, he noticed that a small fraction of people, about 20%, owned around 80% of the land. Initially, it might have seemed like a quirk specific to the social and economic structures of that era. But as Pareto kept digging, he realized that this imbalance of the vital few and the trivial many held true in other datasets as well. He observed that in his own garden, 20% of the pea pods produced roughly 80% of the peas. Colleagues who explored industrial outputs around Europe noticed something similarly lopsided. Most output frequently came from a minority of factories or workers. These repeated patterns were too consistent to ignore. A principle was born. The majority of results often stem from a minority of causes, from economics to everyday life. As time passed, researchers found this ratio popping up in domains far beyond land distribution. In the study of linguistics, 20% of words account for 80% of our daily speech. In computing, a handful of lines of code can be responsible for most software bugs. Even in sports, a small subset of players often dominates scoring. This consistent thread of imbalance seemed to weave through the fabric of everything we do. For a rule that started off in the dusty ledgers of an Italian economist, its reach is astonishing. Today, the Pareto Principle is embedded in the DNA of business schools and productivity seminars. It's cited in boardrooms and invoked in marketing strategies. And yet, it often remains misunderstood or underutilized, because truly applying 80/20ths requires more than just knowing the numbers. It demands a mindset shift. Why the rule applies across industries and disciplines. Number 1. Exponential effects in complex systems. One reason the 80/20 principle is so universal is that many real-world phenomena are exponential rather than linear. Think of how social media posts go viral. A post might reach a small audience at first, but then a tiny subset of influential users shares it, and suddenly it explodes across the platform. It's rarely a perfect 80/20 split, but the essence remains. A minority of users drives the majority of engagement. In a business context, a few top performers often carry the team's overall success. Or a small segment of your product line may generate the largest share of your profits. That exponential, snowball-like effect can be seen wherever there's a disproportionate relationship between effort and outcome. Number 2. Feedback loops. Many systems have what economists and ecologists call feedback loops. When a specific factor starts winning, like a superstar sales rep or a best-selling product, it tends to keep winning. More resources, attention, or demand flow to that factor, amplifying its impact. In most business settings, these feedback loops create runaway successes for a few elements while sidelining or overshadowing the others. Once again, that imbalance looks suspiciously like 80/20ths, often with a tiny portion leading the pack and yielding the biggest slice of results. Number 3. Natural variation and power laws. Scientists have long recognized that certain patterns in nature, and by extension in human behavior, are governed by power laws. The Pareto Principle is essentially a version of this. A small number of inputs can produce massively disproportionate outputs. Power laws show up in everything from earthquake magnitudes to city populations, reinforcing the idea that the world doesn't deal its cards evenly. For businesses, this means you'll rarely find a perfectly even distribution of effort and reward. Some markets bring huge profits, others barely move the needle. Some employees become star innovators, while others struggle to meet basic benchmarks. Instead of viewing these imbalances as anomalies, recognizing them as a natural phenomenon helps you channel them for strategic advantage. Embracing 80/20 as a mindset. Grasping the science behind the 80/20 principle is about more than just knowing the facts. It's about recognizing an underlying current in how systems behave. Whether you run a one-person startup or manage a vast multinational operation, the same dynamics apply. Use data as a compass. Let concrete numbers guide you. Track which products sell the best, which marketing channels yield the highest engagement, or which tasks you personally excel at. Then map out how those few factors affect the broader scope of your outcomes. Honor the vital few. When you identify top performers, be they products, customers, or projects, consider rewarding and amplifying them. Focus your energies where they create a positive ripple effect. Welcome unbalance. Traditional thinking often urges us toward balance in everything, but nature and business are rarely balanced. Embracing purposeful imbalance can free you from the unrealistic expectation that all things must be treated equally. As you continue reading, you'll discover how this principle applies in specific areas like leadership, marketing, sales, and beyond. Each domain has its own 20% that drives 80% of the results, and learning to identify and capitalize on it can transform the way you work. Rather than spreading yourself thin, you'll gain insight into how to direct your resources, money, time, energy, toward the levers that actually move the needle. In the chapters ahead, we'll delve deeper into not only identifying these vital few, but also how to let go of or streamline the trivial many. In doing so, you'll uncover the kind of transformative results that have propelled companies from underdogs to global leaders, and propelled individuals from overworked to optimally effective. If the origins of the 80/20 principle represent the seed, then the next sections will help you cultivate and harvest the full bounty of this remarkable insight. Chapter 2. Rethinking Productivity. I vividly recall a phase in my career when I believed that constant motion equaled success. I stuffed every hour with tasks, meetings, and endless to-do lists, priding myself on how productive I was. It didn't matter if these tasks were insignificant. The sheer frenzy of checking boxes made me feel accomplished. My phone buzzed like a wasp on caffeine, I was perpetually exhausted, and ironically, the results I wanted always seemed out of reach. What changed my perspective was a moment of sheer frustration. I had pulled another late night trying to finalize 2 separate marketing campaigns, both of which ended up performing poorly, despite my Herculean efforts. Meanwhile, a simpler, more targeted campaign someone else had launched thrived with just a fraction of the fuss. It made me question everything. Did my productivity even mean anything if it produced so little? That was my introduction to the paradox of focus. Sometimes, doing less really does achieve more. The 80/20 principle plays a starring role here, as it encourages us to look past the busyness and pinpoint the select few activities that actually move the needle. Doing less to achieve more, the paradox of focus. Most of us were taught from an early age that we have to work harder to get results. Want better grades? Study longer. Want to advance in your career? Put in more hours. Want a bigger paycheck? Hustle nonstop. But what happens when we realize the hardest workers aren't necessarily the most successful or the happiest? Number 1. The signal versus the noise. In an age dominated by multitasking and endless notifications, your real enemy is not lack of time, but the onslaught of distractions. The 80/20 principle helps you cut through this noise. Rather than tackling every task that lands on your plate, you focus on the ones that truly matter, your signal. It might be a key client proposal, a new product feature with high potential, or a partnership that could open doors to bigger markets. By identifying these crucial tasks, you conserve energy and channel your creativity where it has maximum impact. Number 2. Quality over quantity. Productivity has often been misdefined as producing the most rather than the best. But in business, a singular brilliant idea can be far more profitable than dozens of mediocre ideas combined. By focusing on fewer but higher quality initiatives, you foster innovation, thoughtfulness, and depth, ingredients that set your work apart. It's like gardening. Nurturing a few robust plants meticulously can yield a healthier, more abundant harvest than sowing countless seeds you can barely maintain. Number 3. Energy as a finite resource. We're often told to manage time, but our energy deserves equal, if not greater, attention. Exhausting yourself by juggling multiple projects inevitably leads to diminishing returns. When you embrace the 80/20 principle, you shift your focus toward tasks that are truly worth your energy. In the process, you'll find that your creative and intellectual capacities increase. You make better decisions, see hidden opportunities, and maintain the stamina to execute on them effectively. Number 4. Mindful engagement. Doing less also grants you the mental space to engage deeply with what you're doing. Instead of racing through tasks like an assembly line worker, you can invest the thought and care that transform an ordinary project into something extraordinary. This mindfulness improves not only the outcome of your work, but also your sense of fulfillment and purpose. Dispelling the work harder myth in favor of strategic effort. Even with the growing popularity of concepts like minimalism and work-life balance, hustle culture still exerts a powerful influence. Society often equates busy schedules with ambition, downplaying the importance of strategic thinking and deliberate choice. Here's how the 80-20 principle exposes the work harder myth. Number 1. Not all tasks are created equal. Picture your to-do list. Chances are, only a small fraction of those tasks contribute significantly to your big picture goals. Yet, without a conscious filter, we treat them all the same, feeling compelled to check off every box. By identifying your top 20% tasks, those that yield 80% of results, you sidestep the burnout of perpetual busyness and actually inch closer to your objectives. Number 2. The danger of maintenance mode. A lot of work in business isn't about growth or innovation. It's about maintaining the status quo. While some maintenance is essential, too much of it keeps you running in place rather than moving forward. Strategic effort, in contrast, focuses on what truly propels you ahead, forging profitable partnerships, developing game-changing products, or nurturing top clients. Number 3. Big wins from small tweaks. The beauty of the 80-20 mindset is how small, high-impact changes can yield exponential returns. Instead of adding another product line or pouring money into more advertising, you refine your existing offerings for your best customers. Or maybe you focus on improving one critical sales funnel rather than spreading marketing dollars across dozens of channels. These shifts often produce better results than grand, sweeping initiatives that lack focused direction. Number 4. Redefining productivity as progress. When you let go of the work harder narrative, you start to see productivity as purposeful progress. It's not about how many hours you clock, but about the tangible strides you make toward meaningful outcomes. Whether you're finalizing a proposal for a big client or revamping a key workflow, the goal is always quality progress, not endless motion. A personal experiment in less is more. After years of chasing every lead, I finally decided to put the 80-20 principle to a real test. I analyzed my client list and realized that only about 15% of them brought in repeat business. Most of my revenue came from recurring orders from a handful of long-term partners. At first, it felt risky to invest more heavily in that small group and cut back time spent on chasing numerous one-off deals. But I did it anyway. I crafted specialized services and flexible contract options for my top clients, dedicating the extra hours to understanding their needs and creating solutions just for them. The result? My revenue climbed, even as my workload felt more balanced. I wasn't dealing with an endless stream of new client paperwork and sales pitches. And best of all, my stress levels dropped significantly. This wasn't a magic trick. It was simply focusing on the part of my business that already produced the lion's share of returns. I realized that productivity without strategy is like running a marathon on a treadmill. You expend loads of energy, but stay in the same place. Stepping into the 80-20 mindset. Now that we've explored the paradox of doing less to achieve more, you might feel a bit of resistance. Is it really okay to let go of projects or tasks that don't make the cut? Am I missing opportunities by not hustling all the time? These are natural questions, ones I've wrestled with too. But here's the thing. Focusing on less doesn't mean you limit your potential. On the contrary, it frees you to excel in the areas where you have the greatest opportunity for impact. It's about choosing your battles wisely, so you can actually win them. The chapters ahead will help you put these ideas into practice. We'll discuss how to identify your high-leverage tasks and decide which areas deserve your time, energy, and financial resources. We'll also examine common pitfalls, like how to manage the fear of letting go and how to measure success in a world obsessed with more. When you embrace this 80-20 mindset, you'll likely feel a surge of relief. Suddenly, you're not obligated to be everything to everyone. You can become a maestro in your chosen domain, orchestrating those vital few factors that create real value and genuine satisfaction. It's a liberating shift, and one that sets the stage for massive leaps in both professional success and personal well-being. Chapter 3. The 80-20 Perspective on Value. We've all heard the phrase, you can't see the forest for the trees. In business, this often happens when we're so involved in day-to-day tasks, dealing with mountains of emails and juggling endless to-do lists, that we lose sight of what really makes a difference. The 80-20 principle helps us step back and see the true sources of value in our organizations. It draws a line between what meaningfully propels us forward and what merely weighs us down. Identifying the 20% that drives 80% of results. Number 1. Start with the numbers. The simplest way to begin is with hard data. If you're looking at products, list each one alongside its revenue and profit. If you're analyzing customers, note down their total contribution in terms of sales or lifetime value. If tasks are your focus, estimate the impact each has on your bottom line or on the goals you care about most. Once you lay out the numbers, patterns emerge. You'll often find a handful of products or clients generating disproportionately high returns. Maybe it's your top-selling software package. Maybe it's a few repeat customers who place big orders month after month. Identifying these golden segments brings clarity, allowing you to focus on what truly keeps your business thriving. Number 2. Look at engagement and enthusiasm. Numbers alone don't always tell the full story. Sometimes, a product might have lower direct revenue but inspires high engagement, fueling word-of-mouth referrals. Or perhaps a niche product serves as a gateway, drawing customers who later invest in your bigger ticket items. Listen to your customers' feedback, too. Which offerings spark the most excitement? Which ones keep them returning to your store or platform? When you add subjective data, like customer enthusiasm and brand loyalty, to the raw numbers, you gain a nuanced view of which products or services truly carry weight. Number 3. Don't forget internal priorities. If you're building a strong team or nurturing a specific skill set, the 20% can refer to the top tasks that foster expertise and personal growth. For example, maybe training employees in a new technology yields transformative results. Fewer errors, higher morale, and a sharper competitive edge. Identify these hidden levers that elevate not only your profits, but also your long-term capacity for innovation. Number 4. Keep revisiting the data. Business landscapes change. Today's bestsellers may decline in 6 months if a trend shifts. That's why this isn't a one-and-done exercise. Regularly re-examine your data and keep your finger on the pulse of customer needs. This ensures you stay agile, ready to pivot when your vital 20% evolves. Recognizing the 80% that hinders growth or consumes resources. Number 1. The illusion of busy work. A major reason many businesses fail to adopt an 80-20 mindset is the allure of busy work. It feels reassuring to tick off a dozen minor tasks, answering emails, updating spreadsheets, tinkering with small design tweaks, rather than confronting one major initiative. Yet it's precisely this noise that diverts attention from work that genuinely matters. Ask yourself, how many of your daily tasks merely maintain the status quo? Are you trapped by routines that add little value or could be automated? Pinpointing these tasks is the first step toward trimming waste. Number 2. Underperforming products and services. Just like each business has star offerings, it also carries duds, low-margin products, legacy services, or experimental ventures that never quite took off. While it might feel painful to cut ties with these, remember that they can siphon time and money away from your top performers. A tough but necessary exercise is calculating not just the direct expenses of these low performers, but the opportunity cost as well. How much better off would you be if you poured those resources into optimizing your star product or marketing to your best customers? Number 3. High maintenance, low-value customers. We often assume that every paying customer is worth keeping, but some clients cost more in emotional energy, time, and resources than they bring in revenue. Whether they're constantly negotiating for lower prices, demanding excessive support, or paying late, these problematic customers can erode morale and profitability. While it can feel risky to let go of any revenue stream, focusing on your problem clients drains your ability to serve loyal, high-value customers effectively. Learning to politely part ways with low-value clients is part of adopting the 80-20 perspective. 4. The hidden toll of distraction. There's a more insidious way the 80% shows up: distraction from your core mission. This might be new ventures that sound promising but dilute your team's focus, or a social media presence spread thin across too many platforms, resulting in none performing well. Even side projects meant to diversify can end up scattering your energies. When you step back and see which activities consistently rob you of focus or overload your schedule, you'll likely discover that most never yield the impact you were hoping for. Clearing these away can feel like a breath of fresh air and make room for your true priorities. Bringing it all together. Recognizing which 20% of your business outputs drive 80% of your results is a powerful moment, but it's only half the battle. Equally crucial is shedding the 80% that drains resources, whether they're in profitable products, time-consuming tasks, or high-maintenance clients. By doing so, you create a leaner, more purposeful operation. One founder I know experienced a sharp pivot in her online boutique. She realized that while she offered dozens of products, 3 items consistently sold out every month. Yet, she spent hours taking photos, writing product descriptions, and fielding customer questions for the other 80% of her inventory, items that rarely turned a profit. When she finally decided to slash her product line, her store became more profitable, not less, because she could dedicate all her energy to elevating her top sellers. A similar transformation can happen in your business. Once you've identified your vital few, you can deepen your investment in those areas, improving customer experience, refining marketing channels, and doubling down on innovation where it counts. And by removing the trivial many, you'll free up bandwidth to experiment, grow, and enjoy running your business without feeling perpetually weighed down. Next steps. The 80-20 perspective on value sets the stage for everything that follows. In the upcoming chapters, you'll learn how to systematically apply this mindset to leadership, marketing, sales, operations, and more. Prepare to see dramatic shifts in how you allocate time, money, and manpower. This is about creating a streamlined, high-impact business, one that thrives by doing fewer things better. In the next section, we'll explore how the 80-20 principle influences the way you lead and strategize. By focusing on the critical few decisions and delegating or discarding the rest, you can build a more agile and resilient company, while protecting your own time and sanity. Let's keep moving forward, step by step, into a future where every choice you make creates exponential returns. Chapter 4. 80-20ths in Leadership and Strategy. Early in my career, I once believed being a good leader meant staying late every night, fielding every question from the team, and reviewing every single project detail. I measured my effectiveness by how present I was, answering emails instantly, attending every meeting, signing off on every design revision. But eventually, I realized I was drowning in small tasks. My calendar was perpetually booked, my mind was stretched thin, and I had little room left for the decisions that really mattered, the ones that would determine the fate of our business. That's when the 80-20 principle clicked into place for me. Leadership isn't about how many tasks you can cross off a list. It's about making sure the right tasks get done, often by the right people. In this chapter, we'll explore how focusing on a small number of high-impact decisions can elevate your leadership, and why delegating effectively is not a sign of weakness, but an exercise in strategic strength. Prioritizing high-impact decisions. Number 1. Learning to say no. Good leaders do 1,000 things. Great leaders know which 980 of them to decline. The 80-20 principle teaches us that a handful of critical decisions shape the destiny of an organization. Maybe it's investing in a high-potential product line or forging a partnership that can catapult your brand to new markets. Whatever those few game changers are, they often get lost in the daily churn if you don't actively protect your energy and focus. One executive I worked with made a point of setting aside quiet hours every morning. No meetings, no calls, just a period to tackle the top priorities that had the biggest ripple effect across the company. When major opportunities arose, a chance to collaborate with a key client or pivot the business model, she had the bandwidth to dive in wholeheartedly. That level of focus is what separates a leader who simply manages tasks from one who steers the organization toward real transformation. Number 2. The power of a decision filter. Even when you become more aware of your 20% priorities, it's easy to get sucked back into the mundane 80%. To avoid this trap, create a mental, or literal, filter for decisions. Ask yourself, does this align with the core goals of our company or team? Will this yield a significant return on time, money, or morale? Is this something only I can address, or can it be delegated? These quick, clarifying questions help you separate the decisions that truly demand your attention from those you should pass on or pass along. Over time, this filter becomes second nature, preventing you from drowning in day-to-day noise. Number 3. Leading with vision, not micromanagement. Leaders who focus on high-impact decisions naturally shift from firefighting mode to visionary mode. You're no longer buried in details that specialists or team members can handle more efficiently. Instead, you can direct your energy toward where the organization needs to go next. Whether that's entering a new market, diversifying your product range, or investing in cutting-edge technology. The 80-20 mindset ensures your leadership style remains proactive and strategic rather than reactive and scattered. Delegating effectively to focus on what truly matters. Number 1. Embracing the value of letting go. For many leaders, especially those who built the company from scratch, letting go of tasks can feel uncomfortable. You might worry that nobody else will handle them as well as you do. But here's the truth. If you continue to shoulder every responsibility, you become the bottleneck. Your team's growth stalls, your strategic thinking stalls, and your business hits a plateau. Delegation is about empowerment, helping others learn, grow, and solve problems in their own way. By handing off the 80% that doesn't require your unique expertise or vision, you free yourself to engage with the 20% that truly moves the needle. And your team benefits by developing new skills and confidence along the way. Number 2. Matching tasks to talents. Effective delegation is not just about offloading tasks. It's about matching responsibilities to people's strengths. Identify who on your team excels at certain kinds of work, whether it's analyzing spreadsheets, cultivating client relationships, or troubleshooting customer support issues. Assign tasks strategically, and you'll see an uptick in both efficiency and morale. When your team members work in their zones of genius, they're not just checking boxes. They're motivated to innovate and refine, pushing the company forward in ways you couldn't have done alone. Delegation then evolves from a simple time-saving tactic into a powerful tool for organizational growth. Number 3. Communicate clear expectations. The fear of delegation often stems from uncertainty. What if they don't do it right? One way to overcome this is by setting crystal clear expectations. Provide a thorough briefing, outline desired outcomes, and offer the resources or training your team members need to succeed. Then, let them chart their own path. Yes, mistakes will happen, but they can also be gateways to learning and improvement for both you and your team. By fostering a supportive environment for trial and error, you encourage problem-solving skills that will make your workforce more resilient and capable in the long run. Number 4. Measuring success as a team. Finally, ensure that you celebrate wins together. If your marketing manager spearheads a campaign that drives a new wave of customers, acknowledge that publicly. If your logistics coordinator streamlines shipping by 30%, let everyone know. Sharing credit fosters trust and encourages team members to keep taking initiative. Leading from a place of focus. When you adopt the 80-20 mindset in leadership, you'll notice a clear shift in how you spend your days and in the energy you bring to every interaction. Meetings become less about micromanaging and more about removing roadblocks for your team. Your to-do list shrinks, but the actions that remain on it are pivotal to your organization's success. This focused leadership style doesn't just benefit the bottom line, it ripples through office culture. Your employees see you focusing on what truly matters, rather than getting bogged down in minutiae. They feel empowered to take ownership of their roles, knowing you trust them to handle responsibilities. Morale lifts, and so does output quality. Just remember, adopting an 80-20 approach to leadership is a continual process. Regularly reassess your priorities and the tasks you delegate. Companies evolve, goals shift, and people grow into new roles. Keeping an open mind and adjusting as necessary will ensure you remain a leader who shapes the future rather than is shaped by the day-to-day grind. In the upcoming chapters, we'll take this same principle-driven approach to other core areas, like marketing, sales, and operations. Each domain offers unique chances to apply the 80-20 rule, but the fundamental idea remains. It's not about doing everything, it's about doing the right things. With that foundation, you can architect a business that thrives in both efficiency and results, powered by a leadership style that embraces focus, delegation, and strategic clarity. Chapter 5. Marketing, Reaching the Vital Few. I still remember my first major marketing campaign as though it happened yesterday. Our team was buzzing with excitement. We ran Facebook ads, sent weekly email blasts, dabbled in influencer partnerships, and printed glossy brochures to distribute at trade shows. Our ultimate goal was to reach as many eyeballs as possible. After all, more marketing should mean more customers, right? But after the dust settled, we took stock of our results and realized that just a handful of our initiatives generated most of our sales. Everything else felt like wasted time, budget, and energy. It was a classic example of the 80-20 principle at work. In marketing, a small fraction of your audience, channels, and messages often accounts for the bulk of your conversions and revenue. The key to success is identifying and amplifying that vital few, rather than scattering resources across every possible avenue. In this chapter, we'll dive into how to pinpoint your most profitable customer segments and focus your efforts on the high-converting channels that actually move the needle. Identifying and targeting your most profitable customer segments. Number 1. Recognize the best buyers. One of the most eye-opening exercises you can do is list your customers in descending order of total spend or lifetime value. Chances are, you'll see a small fraction of names at the top responsible for most of your income. These are your best buyers, the ones who not only purchase frequently, but also rave about your products to friends, coworkers, and social media followers. Now dig deeper. What do these customers have in common? Maybe they hail from certain industries, belong to particular age groups, or share similar pain points. The more you know about them, where they hang out online, the language they use to describe their problems, and even their personal interests, the more precisely you can tailor your marketing. By treating these best buyers almost like VIP club members, you can strengthen their loyalty and turn them into advocates who do some of your marketing for you. Number 2. Build laser-focused buyer personas. Customer segmentation doesn't end with identifying broad categories. You want to craft detailed buyer personas that capture the core motivations, frustrations, and desires of each profitable segment. Maybe one persona represents busy moms looking for time-saving solutions, while another caters to tech-savvy freelancers seeking innovative tools. Each persona should feel as real as a friend you've known for years. Why go to all this trouble? Because it allows you to speak directly to each group's challenges and aspirations. Instead of generic, one-size-fits-all marketing copy, you'll create targeted campaigns that resonate on a personal level. This approach not only yields higher conversion rates, but also forges deeper connections with the audience that matters most. Number 3. Differentiate between revenue and profit. Sometimes, customers who bring in a lot of revenue aren't necessarily your most profitable. For instance, they may require heavy customer support or steep discounts. Don't just look at top-line revenue. Examine the costs associated with serving each segment. You might discover that your truly profitable segment is smaller than you initially thought, and that's okay. Knowing where your profit comes from is the first step to growing it strategically. Number 4. Track and refine. The process of identifying profitable customers isn't a one-shot deal. As markets evolve and your offerings change, keep revisiting your data. Implement a robust analytics system that can tell you who's buying, how often, and at what cost. Over time, patterns and trends will emerge, allowing you to tweak your marketing strategy for maximum impact. Streamlining campaigns to focus on high-converting channels. Number 1. The myth of omnipresence. It's tempting to believe you have to be everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, plus running Google Ads, sponsoring podcasts, and attending virtual conferences. But trying to do it all usually results in doing none of it well. Ask yourself, which channels actually generate leads and sales? If you see that 80% of your conversions are coming from 2 or 3 specific platforms, that's a strong indication of where your focus should be. Consider the classic example of a small online boutique that discovered Instagram and email marketing drove the bulk of their sales. Instead of spreading themselves thin on YouTube or TikTok, they poured their efforts into creating compelling Instagram reels and nurturing an email list that resulted in consistent purchases. By doubling down on what was already working, they saw a marked increase in revenue without multiplying their workload. Number 2. Data-driven decision-making. Every marketer likes a good gut feeling, but the 80-20 approach works best when paired with cold, hard data. Use tracking pixels, UTM parameters, and conversion analytics to pinpoint where your traffic and sales originate. If you learn that a specific email sequence consistently generates a high click-through rate, invest more in segmenting and refining that sequence. If you discover that podcast ads are bringing minimal returns, reallocate that budget to the channels delivering real impact. Number 3. Simplify your message. Just as you shouldn't spread yourself too thin across channels, you also shouldn't overwhelm your audience with too many calls to action or conflicting brand messages. Clarity sells. By focusing on the vital few offerings, those top 20% of products or services, you can create marketing campaigns that clearly explain their unique value. The simplicity of your message will resonate more powerfully than a laundry list of offerings that potential customers have to sift through. Number 4. Iteration over perfection. A streamlined campaign doesn't mean you get everything right on the first try. Testing is crucial. Run smaller, targeted campaigns to measure results before scaling up. This iterative approach helps you fine-tune your messaging, identify the best promotions, and learn what truly persuades your core audience. In a world that changes quickly, especially online, agile experimentation is the name of the game. A marketing approach that feels authentic. Adopting the 80-20 rule in marketing doesn't just boost your bottom line. It also simplifies your work, making it more meaningful and authentic. When you hone in on your best customers and the channels that reach them most effectively, you no longer feel the pressure to be all things to all people. Instead, you build stronger, more genuine relationships with the people who appreciate what you do and are willing to pay for it. Customers sense this authenticity. They feel valued rather than targeted, and that genuine connection translates into loyalty. They start reading your newsletters instead of letting them languish in a spam folder. They'll follow your Instagram stories and comment on your posts because they see themselves reflected in your brand narrative. In essence, marketing becomes a conversation with your most engaged audience rather than a megaphone directed at the masses. Looking ahead, with a refined focus on the vital few in marketing, you're setting the stage for accelerated growth. The same principle of strategic concentration will apply to other aspects of your business, like sales, operations, and even finance. In the next chapter, we'll look at how to apply 80/20ths to your sales process, ensuring you're closing deals that yield the highest returns without wasting energy on long-shot leads. By this point, you might already sense a shift in how you view your company's potential. Instead of trying to conquer every platform and please every demographic, you're zeroing in on the most profitable and meaningful paths. This is how businesses move from a scattershot approach to a purposeful strategy, and how they unlock exponential results with fewer, but far more potent actions. Chapter 6. Sales, Closing with Efficiency. I once worked at a company that pushed the mantra, "Every prospect is a good prospect." The sales team was trained to chase any lead we could find, no matter how small the deal or how uncertain the fit. We were juggling phone calls, emailing proposals, and giving product demos left and right. Sure, we seemed busy, but by the end of the quarter, we discovered that only a handful of deals contributed to most of our revenue. The rest barely covered the time we'd spent on them, if at all. That's a textbook example of how the 80-20 principle manifests in sales. A relatively small number of leads are the ones who'll truly move the revenue needle, while most of the others drain your time, energy, and morale. In this chapter, we'll delve into how to identify and focus on high-value prospects and discuss ways to simplify your sales process using the 80-20 mindset. Focusing on high-value prospects over time-draining leads. Number 1. Identify the traits of good-fit clients. Start by analyzing your current roster of customers. Which ones consistently place large orders or pay for premium services? Which leads convert with less friction, and which eventually become champions for your brand, referring new business your way? Look for common traits: industry, company size, purchasing power, or even corporate culture. This exercise is about discovering who you can serve best rather than who merely shows interest. By defining these ideal client traits, you gain a compass that guides your outreach. Instead of casting a wide net, you can zero in on the contacts who genuinely match your solutions, saving both parties time and frustration. Number 2, build a lead qualification process. Once you know who your high-value prospects are, formalize a qualification process. This could be as simple as a few key questions that reveal crucial information. Budget. Does the lead have the financial capacity to afford your services? Need. Do they have a problem your product can effectively solve? Timeline. Are they ready to make a decision soon, or are they window shopping? Authority. Are you dealing with the real decision maker or an intermediary? By having a clear process in place, you can quickly separate serious opportunities from those who aren't likely to close, or who might buy, but at such a small scale that the cost of acquisition outweighs the profit. Number 3, use data to predict conversions. Modern CRM tools allow you to track everything from how many times a lead opens your emails to how often they visit your website. These metrics can indicate interest and intent. Leads who consistently interact with your content are often more receptive to a sales conversation. Conversely, if a lead goes radio silent or never engages, it might be time to pivot or discontinue your efforts. Number 4. Mind your opportunity cost. Think of every hour spent wooing a low-potential lead as an hour you're not spending on a high-value customer. Opportunity cost is often overlooked in sales. We focus on gross numbers. We have 200 leads, instead of the yield from each one. If you're conscious of opportunity cost, you'll naturally spend more time nurturing the relationships that matter most. Simplifying the sales process using 80/20 principles. Number 1. Consolidate your sales funnel. In many organizations, the sales funnel is bloated. There are multiple stages: prospect, qualified lead, in negotiation, final review, and countless substeps that can confuse both your team and the buyer. Ask yourself, which stages actually help me close deals faster? Often, the simpler the funnel, the more efficiently you can guide a prospect from first contact to signed contract. Minimize steps. Combine or eliminate redundant stages in your funnel. Automate where possible. Use email sequences or scheduling tools for routine follow-ups. Define clear exit criteria. Decide when a lead isn't worth pursuing further and free your team to focus on higher potential opportunities. Number 2. Provide essential information early. Every sales call or email exchange should be deliberate. Instead of slowly trickling details to prospects, share high-impact information up front, like pricing, core benefits, and how your offering solves their unique problem. This transparency helps potential customers self-qualify or self-disqualify, sparing you from extended back and forth with leads who were never truly interested or able to buy. This might feel risky because traditional sales wisdom says to hold back pricing until later. But in the 80/20 world, empowering strong leads to engage deeply and early is more valuable than trying to coax lukewarm leads through a complicated dance. Number 3. Leverage social proof strategically. A handful of well-crafted case studies or testimonial videos can do more to close deals than dozens of phone calls. Pick your strongest success stories, especially ones that mirror the prospect's industry or challenge, and make sure they're front and center in your pitch deck, website, or follow-up emails. Instead of building a massive library of vague testimonials, focus on a few powerful ones that speak directly to your high-value prospects. Number 4. Empower your sales team with the right tools. Sales professionals often juggle too many software platforms. One for CRM, one for emailing, another for scheduling, and so on. As a result, crucial data slips through the cracks. An 80/20 approach means zeroing in on the tools that streamline your workflow. Maybe that's a robust CRM that integrates with your email marketing, a single scheduling app everyone uses, or a simple dashboard for performance metrics. Fewer, better chosen tools can significantly boost productivity and morale. The payoff: higher revenue, less busy work. When you concentrate your efforts on high-value prospects and simplify your sales processes, you'll see 3 major benefits. Number 1. Higher close rates. Your sales team spends more time talking to the right leads, so a greater percentage of conversations result in profitable deals. Instead of chasing every maybes and what-ifs, you focus on the yes that truly count. Number 2. Shorter sales cycles. Streamlined stages and upfront transparency cut down on endless negotiations. When both sides understand the terms, pricing, and value early on, deals either move forward quickly or fall off the radar, freeing you to pursue better opportunities. Number 3. Reduce stress. Selling can be a high-pressure job, but by removing low-potential leads and busy work, your team remains energized rather than burnt out. Their conversations become more meaningful, their wins more frequent, and their motivation sky-high. Stepping into an 80/20 sales mindset. The transition to an 80/20 sales strategy may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been taught the numbers game approach, where contacting anyone with a pulse is considered a valid tactic. But as you recalibrate, you'll begin to see tangible results. High-value prospects will appreciate your focus and clarity. Your team will develop deeper expertise in addressing the needs of these prime customers. Ultimately, the 80/20 approach in sales is about understanding that not all deals are created equal. By letting go of less productive leads, you free up resources to nurture the relationships that truly matter. And when you measure your success in terms of profitable outcomes rather than superficial activity, You lay the groundwork for a sales engine that consistently drives growth. In the next chapters, we'll explore how to apply the same 80-20 lens to streamline operations, manage finances, and build a cohesive team culture. But for now, remember this. When you target your best prospects and simplify your path to closing, you transform sales from a frantic chase into a purposeful pursuit of value, both for your customers and your bottom line. Chapter 7. Operations and Processes. In the early days of my first startup, everything felt chaotic. We had no standardized workflows or documented processes. We simply tackled whatever popped up first. Packages were shipped when someone remembered. Invoices got sent when we got around to it. We were perpetually busy, yet oddly unproductive. It wasn't until we stepped back to review our everyday tasks, shining a light on where time and resources were going, that we discovered a hard truth. We were spending 80% of our time wrestling with inefficiencies that barely contributed to growth. That's the curse of poorly managed operations. You're so busy plugging holes in the ship that you never sail ahead. But with an 80-20 perspective, operational excellence becomes about focusing on those few processes that make the biggest impact, while streamlining or eliminating the rest. In this chapter, we'll explore how to optimize workflows by cutting inefficiencies and how to use data to locate your most potent operational improvements. Optimizing workflows to cut inefficiencies. Number 1. Map out your processes. The first step toward operational clarity is visualizing your current workflows. Choose a key process, like order fulfillment or product development, and draw it out in a flowchart. Include every step, from customer places order to package ships. Take note of bottlenecks. Do tasks sit on someone's desk for days waiting for approval? Are people having to re-enter data in multiple systems? These inefficiencies usually lurk in the in-between spaces where one team hands off to another. By pinpointing them, you can plan direct, targeted fixes. Number 2. Automate where possible. Technology can be a powerful ally in cutting unnecessary manual labor. Rather than having a human send out every invoice, set up an automated system. Use project management tools that trigger notifications when a task is ready to be picked up by the next person. Automation not only saves time, but also reduces the chance of human error. The real magic lies in implementing automation on tasks that occur repeatedly. If there's a pattern, like generating weekly sales reports, updating inventory levels, or sending customer follow-up emails, you can likely automate or at least streamline it. Number 3. Consolidate roles and responsibilities. Sometimes, process inefficiencies come from unclear boundaries. Tasks that should belong to one person or department may drift into limbo. The 80-20 mindset suggests simplifying ownership. Assign specific tasks to the best-suited individuals or teams, and give them the autonomy to get it done. This eliminates finger-pointing and fosters accountability, ensuring more gets done with less friction. Number 4. Adopt the less but better approach. Overly complex processes often try to account for every hypothetical scenario. While thoroughness is good, you can end up with a mind-numbing labyrinth of steps. Ask yourself, what's the simplest path to achieve this outcome reliably? A streamlined process might have a small risk of missing an edge case, but it can significantly boost overall efficiency. In many situations, the tiny margin of error is well worth a big gain in speed and clarity. Using data to pinpoint the most impactful operational improvements. Number 1. Define measurable KPIs. Key performance indicators, KPIs, are essential. They can range from average shipping time and error rate per batch to cost per unit manufactured. By tracking these metrics, you build a feedback loop. You see where you're improving and where you're stagnating. Let's say your KPI is order to delivery time. If you measure this regularly, you'll discover which part of the chain, packing, shipping, or waiting on approvals, is causing delays. Then you can target that piece for a process overhaul. Trying to fix everything blindly is a recipe for burnout. Focus on the metrics that stand between you and your biggest operational wins. Number 2. Focus on outliers. In many data sets, you'll find that a minority of problems cause a majority of delays or defects. For instance, 20% of your suppliers might be responsible for 80% of late deliveries, or a small fraction of your shipments might be incurring the bulk of your return costs. By zeroing in on these outliers, you can tackle the root causes. Maybe you need to switch to more reliable suppliers or improve your packaging for a specific product line. This surgical approach to problem-solving yields faster, more meaningful results than trying to cover all problems equally. Number 3. A/B test operational changes. Businesses often test marketing messages or sales scripts, but overlook the potential of testing operational tweaks. For instance, if you're uncertain whether a new inventory management software is beneficial, roll it out to a limited portion of your operations first. Measure any improvements in speed, accuracy, or cost savings against your existing system. If the data shows a clear advantage, scale it up. If not, pivot quickly without having disrupted everything at once. Number 4. Iterate continually. Just like markets shift, your internal dynamics do too. Maybe your company grows and new bottlenecks emerge. Maybe a new product line demands different workflows. The data you collect should guide ongoing tweaks. Routine audits, perhaps once a quarter, help ensure your operations stay aligned with the 80-20 philosophy. Each iteration keeps you a step ahead of complacency. When efficiency fuels innovation, an often overlooked benefit of streamlined operations is the space it creates for innovation. When you cut out busy work and lengthy procedures, your team members have mental and emotional bandwidth to think creatively. Instead of putting out daily fires, they can brainstorm improvements, experiment with fresh ideas, and engage in problem-solving at a higher level. This freedom can lead to breakthroughs, a more efficient manufacturing technique, a new distribution partnership, or a customer service protocol that wows buyers. By embracing an 80-20 perspective in operations, you're not just removing friction, you're cultivating an environment where big leaps in capability can happen. From chaos to clarity. Moving from a disorganized operational state to a streamlined, data-driven machine doesn't happen overnight. It requires consistent effort and a willingness to question old habits. But every time you eliminate an unnecessary step or automate a laborious manual task, you reclaim precious time and energy. Reflect on your own current processes. Which tasks or steps feel like necessary evils but yield little benefit? Where in your workflows does everything grind to a halt while people wait for approvals or clarifications? Shine a light on these dark corners. Through systematic simplification and data analysis, you'll find that a few well-chosen adjustments can drastically improve the flow of your operations. In the next chapters, we'll see how the 80-20 principle applies to managing your finances and building a high-impact team, both of which depend heavily on having robust, efficient processes in place. By laying a strong operational foundation, you'll be poised to extend this mindset to every facet of your business, ensuring every move you make counts in a big way. Chapter 8. Financial Management. When I first took a long, hard look at my company's finances, it felt like I was peering into a cluttered attic. Boxes everywhere, half-labeled, some stacked precariously on top of others. We had money flowing in from multiple product lines, and even more pouring out for expenses like software subscriptions, ad campaigns, and random freelance projects. On paper, it might have looked like a thriving enterprise, but our monthly cash flow reports told a different story. Despite a healthy gross income, our net profits kept shrinking. Something had to give. That's where the 80-20 principle came in like a guiding flashlight. By focusing on the 20% of financial levers that moved 80% of our money, both incoming and outgoing, we began to see patterns in how we budgeted, how we spent, and which revenue streams actually mattered. The result was a dramatic shift in how we allocated our resources. In this chapter, we'll explore how 80-20 budgeting can help you channel money where it brings the highest return, and how to identify and streamline both the expenses and revenue streams that truly make or break your bottom line. 80-20th's budgeting. Allocating resources where they yield the highest return. Number 1. Start by breaking down your costs. Begin with a simple question. Where does our money go? Create broad categories: marketing, payroll, tech tools, rent, and so on. Then, dig deeper into each category. You might be surprised to find that a cluster of smaller expenses adds up to a chunk of your budget that rivals major line items. Let's say you're spending heavily on multiple software tools that overlap in functionality. Individually, none of them seems like a budget breaker, but collectively, they may rival your advertising spend. If these tools aren't driving significant returns or efficiency, they belong to the 80% of costs you could minimize or eliminate. Number 2. Tie each expense to an outcome. A key 80/20 insight is recognizing which costs deliver real value and which don't. For each expense category, ask how it contributes to sales, customer satisfaction, or operational efficiency. The ones that lack a clear, tangible outcome are prime candidates for cost cutting or reevaluation. For instance, if your analytics software leads directly to better strategic decisions and improved sales funnels, it's worth keeping. But if you're also paying for 2 or 3 other analytic platforms that you rarely use, it might be time to streamline. By tying each expense to a measurable outcome, you'll quickly see what's essential and what's superfluous. Number 3. Rank expenses by return on investment, ROI. Once you've reviewed your costs, assign a rough ROI rating to each one. This doesn't have to be an exact science. An approximate understanding often suffices. Maybe your targeted Facebook ads generate $5 in revenue for every $1 you spend, while your random brand awareness campaigns yield only $1.50 per $1 spent. Clearly, the high ROI campaigns deserve your focus. This approach works for operational expenses too. A critical piece of equipment that doubles the output of your production line has a much higher ROI than an underused vehicle sitting in a warehouse. By ranking your expenses, you can funnel more resources toward those with the greatest payoff. Number 4. Set clear budget priorities. Armed with these insights, you can craft a budget that intentionally channels money where it has the most impact. Maybe that means 40% of your marketing budget goes to a single high-converting channel, while the rest gets smaller shares. Or you might ramp up investment in advanced manufacturing equipment because you see it improving productivity drastically. The key is intentionality, understanding precisely why you're allocating funds as you do. Streamlining expenses and identifying the most profitable revenue streams. Number 1. The zero-sum mindset. Whenever you decide to invest more in one area, consider offsetting that increase by reducing another expense. Think of your budget as a set of scales. Adding weight to one side means you have to remove it from somewhere else, or you risk tipping into the red. This zero-sum mindset forces you to continually question whether each expense is truly necessary. For example, if you want to invest in a robust customer referral program, perhaps the data shows that referred customers have a high lifetime value. You might decide to reduce spending on a poorly performing affiliate partnership. Instead of reflexively adding expenses, you optimize and rebalance. Number 2. Eliminate costly distractions. Often, businesses keep hemorrhaging money in small, unexamined corners. Maybe you maintain a seldom-used subscription plan that's automatically renewing each month. Or you've locked into a pricey lease for a piece of equipment you use once a quarter. These expenses lurk in the background, quietly siphoning resources. Perform regular spring cleanings of your finances. If an expense doesn't clearly serve a high-impact purpose, consider renegotiating or cutting it. Even modest monthly savings pile up over a year, freeing capital for more profitable ventures. Number 3. Identify your core profit engines. Just as 20% of your expenses likely consume most of your budget, a small subset of your offerings probably accounts for the majority of your revenue. Maybe it's a premium product line or a suite of consulting services. Pinpoint these core profit engines, the offerings that not only bring in money, but do so reliably and at scale. For instance, a software company might discover that their enterprise plan, though purchased by only a few clients, consistently produces 60% of their revenue. If that's the case, doubling down on marketing and improving support for the enterprise tier could yield exponential growth. Number 4. Diversify but wisely. While focusing on your highest ROI revenue streams is crucial, overconcentration can be risky. If that single top-tier product suddenly faces stiff competition or a market downturn, you could be in trouble. A balanced approach means reinvesting some of those gains into developing a new product or service that could become a secondary profit engine. The secret is to expand strategically. Don't spread yourself too thin. Ensure each new venture or product line you develop has a clear path to profitability. This keeps you growing while respecting the 80/20 principle. A real-world 80/20 financial transformation. A friend of mine runs a small chain of artisanal bakeries. She used to spend thousands on specialized ingredients for a wide array of niche pastries, many of which sold slowly and led to spoilage. Meanwhile, a handful of her signature pastries flew off the shelves daily. By analyzing her financials, She discovered that 70% of her revenue came from just 20% of her menu. Acting on this insight, she cut back on low-selling items, reduced inventory costs, and put the money toward hiring a skilled pastry chef to refine her bestsellers. She also boosted marketing for those top items. The result? Revenue soared, waste plummeted, and customers embraced the narrower menu because it allowed the bakery to truly perfect its specialty pastries. This story shows how 80-20 budgeting can unlock hidden potential. By focusing on core profits and eliminating low-value drains, you liberate resources that can be reinvested in what already works, multiplying your returns. Looking ahead, building a financially resilient business. Financial management is about more than balancing books. It's about steering your company's future. When you apply the 80-20 lens, you quickly see which expenditures add real value and which revenue streams deserve your love and attention. This clarity protects you from drifting into a financial black hole of endless spending or misguided product expansions. And the best part, a leaner, more intentional budget fosters innovation. With fewer dollars wasted on unproductive expenses, you have the freedom to experiment or even build a cash reserve that can carry you through lean times. Financial resilience goes hand in hand with the 80-20 principle. Both are about doing more with less and thriving in any market condition. In the chapters to come, we'll look at how to assemble a high-impact team that can fuel your 80-20 momentum, as well as how to continue innovating and navigating challenges with this principle at the core. For now, take a fresh look at your budgeting practices. Every financial decision you make carries weight, so make it count and watch your business flourish. Chapter 9. Building a high-impact team. A business is only as strong as the people behind it. Early in my career, I believed that if we hired enough skilled individuals and gave them clear instructions, we'd naturally achieve great results. But despite assembling a seemingly brilliant team, our performance plateaued. It wasn't until I applied the 80-20th lens to our workforce that I realized a small group of star contributors produced most of our breakthroughs. Meanwhile, the bulk of the team, though competent, wasn't making a dent in our company's real growth. This realization prompted a shift. We began to seek out, empower, and invest in our top performers, rather than dispersing our focus equally among everyone. We also redefined our culture to reward results-driven thinking, helping each person understand how their work directly impacts the organization's mission. In this chapter, we'll explore how recognizing and nurturing your top 20% can revolutionize your success, and why building a culture of focus elevates the entire team's performance. Recognizing and nurturing the top 20% performers. Number 1. Identify your high-value contributors. Just as certain customers or products drive the bulk of your revenue, a core group of employees often accounts for most of your company's impact. These could be innovative problem solvers, rockstar sales reps, or brilliant engineers who transform ideas into reality. Identify them by looking beyond mere job titles. Focus on measurable contributions, leadership traits, and the consistent ability to move projects forward. One company I consulted for discovered that 15% of their engineers were resolving nearly 80% of the critical technical issues. Once they knew this, they restructured workflows to free up these key players from routine tasks, allowing them to focus on high-value problem solving. The result? Fewer bottlenecks, happier clients, and a surge in product reliability. Number 2. Tailored development opportunities. Top performers thrive when you give them room to grow. Rather than lump them into a one-size-fits-all training program, consider personalized development paths. This could include mentorship from senior leaders, access to specialized conferences, or advanced tools that amplify their strengths. By investing in your top 20% more intensively, you empower them to deliver an even bigger slice of your company's results. Keep in mind that these opportunities aren't about favoritism, they're about multiplication. When you enable star contributors to shine brighter, the entire organization benefits. These high-impact individuals often mentor others, spearhead innovation, and energize the team by setting an inspiring example of what's possible. Number 3. Reward performance and potential. When it comes to recognition, the 80-20 principle reminds us that the greatest returns come from highlighting truly exceptional work. Offer meaningful rewards, be it bonuses, flexible work arrangements, or public acknowledgement in team meetings. The key is ensuring that recognition aligns with impact, not just effort. At one startup, the The founder personally congratulated employees who landed major deals or developed standout software features. It wasn't about praising every minor achievement. It was about spotlighting contributions that shifted the needle in a big way. This approach signaled to everyone that real value creation would be recognized and rewarded. Number 4. Guard against burnout. High performers can become victims of their own success. Because they're so capable, they often shoulder an outsized workload. Watch for signs of burnout, fatigue, irritability, declining productivity, and intervene before it spirals. Sometimes, offering additional support or strategic delegation ensures your star players remain energized for the long haul. Creating a culture of focus and results-driven thinking. Number 1. Articulate a clear vision. A team that understands the why behind its tasks is far more likely to produce meaningful outcomes. Set a vision that everyone, especially your top talent, can rally around. Whether it's a bold financial target, a mission to pioneer new technology, or a goal to serve 1 million customers, clarity of purpose unites and energizes people to aim higher. The best visions aren't just slogans. They translate into specific goals that people at every level can contribute to. When your staff sees exactly how their work ties into that vision, they become stakeholders in your success rather than mere employees checking boxes. Number 2. Reward outcomes, not just effort. If your corporate culture prizes face time in the office or hours spent on tasks, you may inadvertently reward busyness over outcomes. To align with 80-20 thinking, recognize tangible results. Did the marketing team increase conversion rates by 20%? Did a developer launch a feature that attracted thousands of new users? A focus on outcomes encourages everyone to channel their energy toward work that drives real impact. Number 3. Streamline collaboration and communication. In many organizations, endless meetings and sprawling email threads become the norm. This environment can stifle your top talent, who end up juggling bureaucracy instead of producing breakthroughs. Implement simpler communication frameworks, a project management tool, short stand-up meetings, or quick Slack check-ins, to keep everyone aligned without drowning in process. A culture of focus isn't about cutting communication. It's about making it efficient. When decisions need to be made, gather the right people, discuss quickly and decisively, then move on. This keeps momentum high and spares your A players from overexposure to time-sapping collaboration. Number 4. Foster self-management and ownership. One reason top performers excel is that they take ownership of their work. Rather than micromanaging, give employees the autonomy to make decisions and solve problems in their own way. Set clear objectives and boundaries, then step aside. This approach not only liberates your superstars to flex their talents, it also cultivates an entrepreneurial mindset across the organization. People begin to think like owners, not just employees. They take calculated risks, find creative solutions, and learn from mistakes, all while keeping an eye on results that matter. Elevating the entire team through the 80-20th lens. Focusing on the top 20% of your workforce doesn't mean ignoring everyone else. In fact, it can have a ripple effect that elevates the entire organization. When you highlight and reward outstanding work, other team members see what excellence looks like and strive to reach it. When you create a culture that values focused execution and tangible results, even average performers often rise to the occasion, improving their skills and ambition. Remember, too, that the 80-20 principle isn't static. Some employees may blossom into top performers with the right guidance, while existing stars could fade if they aren't continuously challenged and supported. Stay vigilant. Keep an eye on shifting dynamics, invite feedback, and remain open to revamping roles or team structures as your business evolves. A transformational team approach. Imagine a business where people come to work knowing exactly how their strengths contribute to the bigger picture, where top performers are recognized, nurtured, and equipped to do their best. Meetings are purposeful, communication flows clearly, and goals revolve around outcomes rather than the illusion of busyness. That's the promise of applying 80-20 thinking to team building and culture. As you continue reading, we'll dive into how to encourage purposeful innovation and tackle challenges with an 80-20 mindset. But the foundation starts here, with your team. By giving your best people the tools and environment to shine, and by weaving a culture of focus into every layer of the organization, you'll see not only improved performance but also a more engaged, inspired workforce, one capable of creating lasting success. Chapter 10. Innovating with Purpose. There's a saying in business circles, innovate or die. While it sounds dramatic, there's truth to it. Stagnant companies risk falling behind in an ever-evolving market. The real question, though, is how to innovate. Should you try a dozen approaches at once, hoping one hits the mark? Or should you pursue hyper-focused breakthroughs? The 80-20 principle offers a clear path forward. Identify the small set of innovation projects with the highest potential for impact and concentrate your resources there. In this chapter, we'll explore how to apply 80-20 thinking to spark game-changing ideas while avoiding the trap of spreading your efforts too thin. Using 80-20ths to identify opportunities for breakthrough innovation. Number 1. Spot the pressure points and untapped demands. Every market has friction points. The tasks that customers find cumbersome or the unmet needs they constantly complain about. Listen closely to the feedback loops you already have, customer support calls, user reviews, social media comments, and look for recurring themes. A handful of complaints will often account for the majority of real frustration. For example, a SaaS company might discover that 20% of user pain points revolve around a single function that's difficult to use. Fixing or reimagining that function could lead to a massive improvement in user satisfaction and a leap forward in innovation. Number 2. Leverage your top performers' insights. We've already discussed the importance of nurturing your top 20% employees. These are the people who not only excel at day-to-day tasks, but also possess the curiosity and initiative to drive innovation. Encourage them to experiment, brainstorm, and prototype new ideas. Setting aside dedicated innovation sprints or hackathons can bring out the best in your star players. Rather than dividing them among endless projects, give them space to dive deep into a select few concepts. The result is often more refined, creative solutions that move the needle in a significant way. Number 3. Ask the 10x question. When evaluating potential innovations, push your thinking to extremes. Instead of small upgrades, ask, what would make our process or product 10 times better? This question shatters incremental thinking. It forces you to imagine transformative changes rather than marginal improvements. The 80-20 principle complements this approach by reminding you that a single breakthrough could outweigh numerous minor tweaks. If you find one big leap forward, like a radically simpler interface or a new service model that halves customer costs, you can see disproportionate gains compared to dozens of scattered enhancements. Number 4. Validate early, validate often. Innovation shouldn't happen in a vacuum. Once you have a high-potential idea, test it with a subset of customers or in a controlled pilot program. If it resonates, scale it up quickly. If it falls flat, pivot without sinking too many resources into a losing venture. This iterative approach keeps you agile. Rather than pouring endless funds and effort into a concept that might flop, you gather real-world data in small steps. You'll learn which innovations truly meet the market's most pressing needs and which are better shelved. Avoiding the trap of over-diversification. Number 1. Recognize innovation FOMO. Fear of missing out, FOMO, on the next big thing can lead businesses to chase every shiny object. From augmented reality features to blockchain-based solutions, companies sometimes spread themselves too thin, attempting to be pioneers in every frontier. The 80-20 principle reminds us that a handful of innovation projects will yield a majority of breakthroughs. Pick those with the highest likelihood of success and the strongest alignment with your core mission. Surrendering the rest isn't a failure. It's a strategic decision that frees up capacity to excel where it matters. Number 2. Cohesion over chaos. Over-diversification often results in fragmented teams, each tackling separate projects with minimal collaboration. The outcome: duplicated work, siloed information, and half-baked concepts. By focusing on a smaller number of initiatives, you allow cross-functional collaboration to flourish. Developers, designers, marketers, and operations specialists can unite around a shared vision, combining their expertise for a more robust final product. Number 3. Allocate resources with intent. Money, time, and talent are finite resources, especially when innovation is on the line. Ensure your budget and people power are heavily invested in the top priority projects identified through your 80-20ths analysis. If you have 15 initiatives on the table, but you suspect 3 of them carry the most promise, allocate the bulk of your resources to those 3. This doesn't mean ignoring other ideas forever. It just means stacking the odds in favor of your best bets. If one of them yields the kind of success you envision, you'll have more resources to explore secondary ideas down the road. Number 4. Maintain a core brand identity. Innovation shouldn't compromise what you already do well. A gourmet restaurant known for its exceptional customer experience might explore new menu concepts, but delving into home appliance manufacturing would be a wild detour. When you over-diversify into areas far from your expertise or brand identity, you risk losing your core audience. Stay true to what sets you apart. The best innovations enhance and evolve your brand's foundation, rather than creating a jarring departure. By focusing on a cohesive vision, you ensure your breakthroughs resonate with the customers who already trust you. The art of focused innovation. Many businesses equate innovation with boundless creativity and endless possibilities. But boundary-less exploration can quickly devolve into scattered chaos. The 80-20 principle suggests a disciplined form of innovation. Find the essential few ideas with real potential, back them wholeheartedly, and execute with excellence. When done well, focused innovation can take your company to new heights. Maybe you roll out a feature that cuts onboarding time by half, and it drives a surge of glowing customer reviews. Or you launch a product that taps into a previously overlooked market segment, fueling an unexpected wave of revenue. Such wins often come from calculated leaps, not timid steps in every direction. Positioning your business for exponential growth. Innovation isn't just a buzzword, it's the engine that powers long-term success. With the 80-20 principle as your compass, you can ensure that each innovation initiative has a real shot at becoming a game changer. You're not merely dabbling, you're doubling down on the ideas that can redefine your industry or propel you past competitors. And remember, the journey doesn't end when an innovation hits the market. As we'll see in the following chapters, maintaining your 80-20 focus requires continuous iteration, keeping your eyes on the levers that yield the greatest returns. By embedding this mindset into your culture, where purposeful innovation trumps random stabs in the dark, you'll forge a path of sustainable, exponential growth that leaves little room for stagnation or mediocrity. Chapter 11. Navigating Challenges with 80-20 Thinking. Business challenges are inevitable. Economic downturns, market disruptions, leadership changes, or even global crises. Yet, not all problems are created equal. Some have ripple effects that can destabilize an entire organization, while others are minor bumps in the road. The difference between companies that collapse under pressure and those that thrive often boils down to focus. In times of crisis, clarity becomes your most valuable asset. The 80-20 principle shines brightest when the pressure is on. It offers a filter to help you identify which challenges require immediate, focused action and which can be temporarily deprioritized, or even ignored entirely. In this chapter, we'll explore how to use 80-20 thinking for crisis management and how to overcome internal resistance and inertia that can prevent your team from responding effectively. Crisis management through prioritization. When chaos hits, whether it's a PR disaster, supply chain failure, or sudden drop in sales, it's natural to feel overwhelmed. Every problem seems urgent. Every fire seems like the one that will burn the house down. But here's the truth. Not all problems are equally critical. The 80-20 principle helps you sort through the noise and focus on what truly matters. Number 1. Triage the situation. Identify the 20% problems that create 80% of the damage. In any crisis, only a few factors are driving the bulk of the negative impact. Start by asking, which problem, if solved, would immediately stabilize the situation? Which issue is having the greatest downstream effect on other areas of the business? Which challenge, if left unresolved, poses the most long-term risk? For example, if sales have plummeted, the real issue might not be sales strategy, but a manufacturing delay that's preventing you from delivering products on time. Solve that, and the sales numbers will start to recover naturally. Number 2. Focus resources on the vital few solutions. Once you've identified the high-leverage problems, channel your resources, time, people, and money, toward solving them. Avoid the temptation to spread your team thin across a laundry list of secondary concerns. One CEO I know faced a major supply chain breakdown. Instead of attempting to negotiate with every single vendor at once, they focused exclusively on their top 2 suppliers, the ones responsible for 70% of their inventory flow. By securing agreements with those two partners, they were able to restore operations far faster than if they'd tried to fix everything simultaneously. Number 3. Communicate with radical clarity. In times of crisis, confusion can be more damaging than the problem itself. Be transparent with your team about the core problems you're prioritizing, the reasoning behind those priorities, the role each team member plays in addressing them. When your team understands why you're focusing on certain issues and how their contributions fit into the bigger picture, they're far more likely to stay motivated and aligned. Number 4. Be decisive, but not reckless. Crisis management often requires bold decisions made under imperfect conditions. But bold doesn't mean reckless. Use the 80-20 lens to evaluate potential actions. Ask yourself, will this action address one of our core issues? Does it align with our long-term goals and values? What are the second and third-order consequences? It's better to take decisive, high-impact action on one key issue than to implement a dozen scattered initiatives with diluted effects. Overcoming resistance and inertia within your organization. Crises are stressful, and stress often brings resistance. Team members might cling to old ways of working, delay necessary changes, or fear making mistakes. Overcoming this inertia is one of the biggest challenges leaders face during turbulent times. The 80-20 principle can guide you here as well. Number 1. Address the root cause of resistance. Resistance is rarely about the change itself. It's about fear, uncertainty, or lack of understanding. Instead of fighting surface-level objections, dig deeper. Are team members unclear about the strategy? Do they feel unsupported in executing new priorities? Are they afraid of failure or blame? Identify the 20% of objections that are driving 80% of the resistance. Maybe a handful of influential team leaders are skeptical about the changes. Convincing them could have a cascading effect on the rest of the team. Number 2. Rally around a singular goal. In times of uncertainty, people need a clear target to aim for. Instead of presenting your team with a dozen disconnected priorities, simplify your objectives into 1 or 2 core goals. For example, over the next 90 days, our sole focus is rebuilding customer trust. Our top priority is ensuring our supply chain stabilizes within the next month. When everyone understands the mission, they're far more likely to overcome inertia and work together toward meaningful outcomes. Number 3. Empower key change agents. Within every organization, there are individuals who naturally step up during times of crisis. These people are often influential, respected, and have a bias toward action. Identify them. They're your top 20% when it comes to driving change. Empower these individuals to take ownership of critical initiatives. Their influence can help rally the rest of the team, reduce fear, and create a sense of momentum. Number 4. Remove roadblocks decisively. Sometimes, resistance isn't emotional, it's structural. Bureaucratic bottlenecks, outdated approval processes, or clunky tools can slow down even the most motivated teams. Identify these operational roadblocks and eliminate them swiftly. For example, if your sales team can't close deals because every discount needs multiple managerial approvals, streamline the process. Small operational fixes often have outsized effects during moments of crisis. The power of 80-20 resilience. Businesses that navigate crises successfully share a common trait: resilience. But resilience isn't about brute strength or endless stamina. It's about smart allocation of focus and resources. Focus on the 20% of problems causing 80% of the chaos. Act decisively on the solutions that matter most. Empower the people who can drive real change. Crises, while painful, often present hidden opportunities. Companies that prioritize well often emerge leaner, smarter, and better prepared for future challenges. By applying 80-20 thinking, you'll not only survive periods of disruption, you'll thrive in them. A mindset for challenges big and small. When you adopt the 80-20 principle in navigating challenges, it becomes more than just a strategy. It becomes a mindset. Challenges stop being insurmountable mountains and become puzzles to solve, one high-impact piece at a time. Next time your organization faces a crisis, remember this. You don't have to fix everything at once. You just have to fix the right things. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore how to sustain long-term success through continuous improvement and how to scale your organization without losing the clarity and focus the 80-20 principle provides. But for now, take a breath, survey the landscape of your business, and remind yourself, The path through any storm is paved with focus, clarity, and purposeful action. Chapter 12. Continuous Improvement and Iteration. Success is not a finish line, it's a moving target. Markets evolve, customer preferences shift, technology advances, and competitors adapt. What worked brilliantly last year might not work next year, or even next quarter. Yet, so many businesses make the mistake of treating success as a fixed destination. They celebrate reaching a revenue milestone or launching a successful product and assume they can coast on that momentum. But here's the truth. The moment you stop improving, you start declining. The most successful companies don't just apply the 80-20 principle once, they live it. They embed it into their culture, processes, and strategic planning. In this chapter, we'll explore how to adopt 80-20 as an ongoing philosophy, regularly reassess your priorities, and ensure your business remains focused, agile, and resilient. Regularly reassessing priorities and impact drivers. The business landscape is dynamic. Priorities that were once critical may become obsolete, and previously insignificant opportunities might suddenly offer massive potential. To keep your 80-20 focus sharp, you must make reassessment a habit, not an afterthought. Number 1. Schedule regular reviews. Set aside time every quarter, or at least twice a year, to step back and evaluate your business using the 80-20 lens. Ask yourself, are our top 20% revenue streams still performing? Have new high-impact opportunities emerged? Are there any outdated processes or products consuming resources unnecessarily? By regularly revisiting these questions, you prevent inertia from setting in. Instead of coasting on outdated assumptions, you remain agile, adjusting your strategy based on current realities. Number 2. Use data as your guide. Data isn't just for crisis moments. It should be your compass for continuous improvement. Track KPIs, key performance indicators, that align with your 80-20 goals. Which customers are driving the bulk of your revenue? Which marketing campaigns are yielding the highest ROI? Which operational workflows are consistently causing delays or inefficiencies? Modern tools make it easier than ever to track these metrics in real time. Dashboards, analytics platforms, and automated reports can provide ongoing clarity about where your business stands. Number 3. Apply 80-20ths to new opportunities. Innovation doesn't stop after a successful launch. Every new product idea, marketing campaign, or strategic partnership should pass through the 80-20 filter. Does this align with our core strengths? Will this deliver disproportionate returns relative to its costs? Is this opportunity distracting us from an existing high-impact focus area? Saying no to average opportunities frees you to say an enthusiastic yes to truly exceptional ones. Number 4. Stay close to your customers. Customers are often the best source of insight into what truly matters. Pay attention to their feedback, complaints, and buying behaviors. Conduct regular surveys, monitor reviews, and, if possible, engage with them directly. Often, a handful of recurring customer pain points or desires represent massive opportunities for improvement or innovation. Staying close to your customers helps you catch these signals early and act on them efficiently. Adopting 80-20 as an ongoing philosophy, not a one-time fix. The 80-20 principle isn't just a strategy, it's a mindset. It's not something you implement once. It's a lens you wear every day to evaluate decisions, priorities, and opportunities. Number 1. Build it into your culture. Make the 80-20 principle part of your team's DNA. Talk about it in meetings, celebrate wins driven by 80-20 thinking, and encourage employees to apply the principle to their own work. Example: a marketing team might identify that a small set of content pieces drive most website traffic. Instead of churning out endless blog posts, they double down on producing and promoting high-performing content formats. Example: a customer support team might notice that 80% of complaints stem from one recurring issue. Solving that issue proactively eliminates most of their reactive workload. When teams are trained to think in 80-20th terms, they become more focused, more strategic, and less likely to fall into the trap of busy work. Number 2. Create systems for continuous feedback. Continuous improvement relies on constant feedback loops. Encourage team members to regularly evaluate their tasks and question whether they align with the company's core goals. Ask, is this task producing meaningful results? Is there a smarter or faster way to do this? What would happen if we stopped doing this altogether? These simple questions can reveal inefficiencies and uncover hidden opportunities. Number 3. Embrace flexibility and adaptability. Businesses that thrive over the long term are those that can adapt quickly. The 80-20 principle thrives on agility, on the willingness to shift focus when data reveals a new high-impact priority. Don't cling to past successes or rigid plans. If the numbers show that a previously profitable product line is now a drain on resources, have the courage to pivot. If a new market opens up unexpectedly, be ready to shift resources quickly. The 80-20 mindset encourages bold, data-driven decision-making, not blind loyalty to old ways of doing things. Number 4. Encourage personal 80-20ths reflection. The principle doesn't just apply to the organization, it applies to individuals as well. Encourage team members to regularly reflect on their own workflows. Which tasks are delivering the most value? Which responsibilities could be delegated, automated, or eliminated? Where should their focus truly lie? When employees align their personal priorities with the company's broader goals, productivity and satisfaction skyrocket. Case study: the iterative power of 80-20ths thinking. Take the example of a global logistics company facing declining profit margins. A surface-level analysis pointed to rising fuel costs, but a deeper 80-20 review revealed that just 15% of delivery routes were causing 70% of their late deliveries and refund claims. Instead of launching a blanket cost-cutting initiative across all operations, they focused exclusively on optimizing those problematic routes. They rerouted deliveries, upgraded technology for those regions, and retrained specific teams. Within 6 months, late deliveries dropped by 60% and profit margins rebounded. This wasn't a one-off fix, it became an ongoing process. Every quarter, the company runs 80-20ths audits on logistics, customer support, and fleet management, ensuring they remain focused on what matters most. The never-ending 80-20 journey. The beauty of the 80-20 principle lies in its repeatability. Every cycle of analysis and iteration reveals new insights, new opportunities, and new efficiencies. It's a living, breathing philosophy, not a static rule. You'll continually discover which 20% of efforts are driving your results. You'll regularly refine your focus based on data and reflection. You'll foster a culture where everyone understands the power of strategic focus. This isn't about perfection, it's about consistent, meaningful improvement. Looking ahead, the infinite potential of 80-20. As we approach the final chapter, you'll see how the 80-20 principle can be scaled up, not just within your business, but across your personal life and leadership style. When applied thoughtfully and consistently, 80-20ths becomes more than a business strategy. It becomes a guiding philosophy for success, fulfillment, and lasting impact. For now, take this chapter as a call to action. Don't let success breed complacency. Keep iterating, keep questioning, keep improving. Because in the world of 80-20 thinking, there's always another layer of potential waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 13. The bigger picture, scaling with 80-20ths. Growth is the dream of every ambitious business owner. The idea of scaling, reaching more customers, launching new products, and increasing revenue is undeniably exciting. But growth also brings risk. Many businesses scale too quickly, spread themselves thin, or lose sight of what made them successful in the first place. They become tangled in complexity, burdened by overhead, and paradoxically less profitable despite being bigger. Here's where the 80-20 principle steps in as your guiding compass. Scaling with focus is about expanding what already works. It's about leveraging the vital 20% that's driving 80% of your success and replicating it in a way that maintains clarity, consistency, and control. In this chapter, we'll explore how to grow strategically without diluting your focus, and how to ensure your long-term vision aligns with short-term priorities. Expanding your business without diluting focus. Number 1. Scale your strengths, not your weaknesses. Growth should magnify your strengths, not your flaws. Before you think about expanding, ask yourself, what is our core strength? What do customers love most about us? Which products, services, or processes deliver the most value? Focus your expansion efforts on the areas where you already excel. For example, if 80% of your profits come from 2 product lines, scale those rather than diversifying into unrelated offerings. If your sales team thrives in a specific region or demographic, deepen your investment there before chasing new, untested markets. Scaling isn't about doing more, it's about amplifying what already works. Number 2. Replicate systems, not chaos. Many businesses grow chaotically. New branches, new teams, and new markets are added without clear processes in place. The result? Confusion, inconsistency, and declining quality. Before scaling, ensure your core systems, operations, customer service, marketing, are optimized and repeatable. Document your workflows, create standard operating procedures, SOPs, and ensure your team knows why and how things are done. Think of it like franchising your internal systems. Whether you're opening a second store, launching a new product, or expanding into another market, the same high-impact processes should drive results consistently. Number 3. Avoid the more is better trap. It's easy to equate growth with doing more products, more markets, more customers. But unchecked expansion often dilutes your focus and eats away at your resources. Ask yourself, is this growth aligned with our core strengths? Will this new initiative support our top 20% revenue drivers? Does this growth align with our long-term goals? Sometimes, saying no to a shiny opportunity allows you to double down on an existing one. Growth isn't about chasing every path. It's about choosing the right path and walking it with purpose. Number 4. Measure scalability in terms of simplicity. A useful exercise is to ask, will this scale increase complexity or simplify our operations? For example, does adding another product line require a completely different manufacturing process? Will entering a new market require a separate customer service infrastructure? Whenever possible, choose growth opportunities that build on your existing strengths rather than creating entirely new layers of complexity. Aligning long-term vision with short-term priorities. Long-term vision without short-term action is just wishful thinking. On the flip side, short-term focus without a guiding vision is like sailing without a compass. Scaling successfully with 80-20 thinking requires aligning these two perspectives, ensuring every short-term move serves the bigger picture. Number 1. Define a crystal-clear North Star. Every successful company has a North Star, a guiding objective that keeps the team focused amid the noise of daily tasks and short-term goals. Ask yourself, what's the ultimate outcome we're working toward? What does success look like 5 years from now? How will we measure progress along the way? Maybe your North Star is to become the most trusted name in sustainable fashion, or to be the go-to SaaS platform for small businesses. Whatever it is, articulate it clearly and communicate it often. Number 2. Break big goals into 80-20 milestones. Massive goals can feel overwhelming. The secret to execution lies in breaking them down into smaller, actionable milestones. Apply the 80-20 principle here, which 20% of actions will drive 80% of progress toward our long-term goal. What are the few key metrics we should monitor to measure our success? For example, if your goal is to double your revenue in 3 years, the most critical driver might not be launching 6 new products, but rather optimizing the sales funnel for our 2 best-selling products. Number 3. Keep a dynamic balance between vision and execution. Your long-term goals should guide your short-term decisions, but they shouldn't become rigid dogma. Stay adaptable. Markets shift, opportunities emerge, and challenges arise. Regularly step back and reassess. Are our daily priorities still aligned with our long-term vision? Have new data or circumstances revealed better paths to our goals? It's not about sticking to the original plan at all costs. It's about remaining focused on the destination while being flexible about the route. Number 4. Protect resources for strategic priorities. Growth often requires reinvestment, hiring talent, upgrading infrastructure, launching campaigns. But resources are finite, and it's easy to burn through them on lower-impact initiatives. Use the 80-20 lens to prioritize resource allocation. Which initiatives are most critical for achieving our long-term goals? Which short-term projects yield the highest ROI? When resources are directed intentionally, growth becomes a strategic process, not an uncontrolled sprint. The challenge of scaling without dilution. As businesses grow, there's an inherent risk of losing focus. The customer intimacy you had as a small startup might fade. Processes that once felt nimble might become bloated. Decisions that were once clear-cut might now require endless meetings. This is why the 80-20 principle becomes even more critical as you scale. It serves as your anchor, your filter, and your guiding philosophy. It reminds you that not every opportunity is worth pursuing. Not every customer is worth serving. Not every task deserves your team's attention. Scaling doesn't mean doing everything. It means doing more of what works. The path to sustainable growth. When you apply the 80-20 principle to scaling, growth becomes intentional rather than reactive. You'll build on your core strengths rather than diluting them. Streamline your operations to handle increased volume without chaos. Align every short-term milestone with your long-term vision. Businesses that grow with focus create value not just for shareholders, but for employees, customers, and communities. They remain true to their mission even as they expand their reach. The final thought: focus as a growth superpower. Scaling isn't about doing everything bigger. It's about doing the right things better. The 80-20 principle isn't just a strategy for today. It's a philosophy that scales with you. Whether you're leading a team of 10 or 10,000, the clarity it brings will keep your business centered, agile, and profitable. In the final chapter, we'll explore how the 80-20 mindset doesn't just apply to business. It applies to life. You'll learn how to carry this principle beyond your professional world and into your personal habits, mindset, and daily choices. After all, success isn't just about building a thriving company. It's about building a thriving life. Chapter 14. Beyond Business, 80-20 in Life. The 80-20 principle isn't confined to boardrooms, financial reports, or sales strategies. It's a universal truth, a pattern woven into the fabric of our personal lives, habits, and relationships. Just as 20% of your clients generate 80% of your revenue, a small fraction of your daily activities, relationships, and choices likely account for the majority of your happiness, health, and personal fulfillment. Yet most people live their lives like they run their businesses, reactively, chaotically, and without focus. We're buried under endless to-do lists, chasing shallow connections, and spreading our energy across commitments that drain rather than replenish us. But what if you applied the 80-20 lens to your life? What if you could identify the few activities, habits, and people that bring you the greatest joy, health, and success, and let go of the rest? In this final chapter, we'll explore how to apply the 80-20 principle to your personal productivity, relationships, and well-being, creating a life centered around what truly matters. Applying the 80-20 principle to personal productivity. Number 1. Identify your high-impact activities. Not all tasks are created equal. In your work life and personal projects, a handful of activities produce the bulk of meaningful results. Ask yourself, what are the 20% of tasks that deliver 80% of my productivity and satisfaction? Which daily habits consistently move me closer to my goals? What activities make me feel deeply fulfilled and in flow? For example, if writing generates most of your career opportunities, block out time daily to write without distraction. If exercise boosts your energy and focus for the rest of the day, prioritize it as non-negotiable. By identifying these high-leverage activities, you can design your day around them, rather than scattering your attention across busy work. Number 2. Ruthlessly eliminate time wasters. Most people spend far too much time on tasks that yield little to no value. Endless email threads, meetings without clear objectives, mindless social media scrolling. The 80-20 rule tells us that eliminating or automating even a few of these time-draining tasks can free up huge chunks of your day. Ask yourself, if I stop doing this task, would it really matter? Can this task be automated, delegated, or removed entirely? Focus on the essential few, and don't let the trivial many eat away at your most valuable resource, your time. Number 3. Prioritize energy, not just time. Time management is important, but energy management is where true productivity happens. Identify your peak energy periods, when your mind is sharpest, your creativity flows, and your focus is unshakable. Use those golden hours for your most important tasks. If mornings are when you're at your best, tackle your high-impact projects then. Leave shallow, low-value tasks, like administrative work, for lower energy periods. Applying the 80-20 principle to relationships. Number 1. Invest in the vital few. Not every relationship carries equal weight. In most people's lives, 20% of their relationships bring 80% of their emotional fulfillment and support. Ask yourself, which relationships bring me the most joy, growth, and connection? Who makes me feel energized, supported, and understood? Which relationships feel one-sided, draining, or transactional? Focus your time and energy on the people who truly matter, the friends, family members, and colleagues who add value to your life. Number 2, quality over quantity. In our hyper-connected world, it's easy to mistake quantity for quality. Having hundreds of online friends doesn't compare to sharing a deep, honest conversation with one real friend. Schedule regular time with the people who matter most. This might mean weekly dinners with family, monthly catch-ups with close friends, or an annual getaway with your partner. Relationships, like any investment, yield returns when you nurture them intentionally. Number 3, let go of toxic connections. Just as unproductive tasks drain your energy, toxic or one-sided relationships can sap your emotional well-being. Are there relationships where you constantly feel drained? Are you holding on to connections out of obligation rather than genuine care? While it's not always easy, letting go of these relationships creates space for healthier, more fulfilling connections to flourish. Applying the 80-20 principle to well-being. Number 1, identify your keystone habits. Keystone habits are the small, high-impact routines that create a ripple effect across your life. For example, regular exercise boosts your physical health, mood, and focus. Mindful journaling improves your clarity, gratitude, and emotional resilience. Quality sleep enhances productivity, creativity, and decision-making. Ask yourself, which habits consistently improve my overall well-being? What 1 or 2 routines, if done consistently, would transform my life? Focus on those keystone habits and make them non-negotiable. Number 2, simplify your environment. Your surroundings play a huge role in your mental state. Declutter your home, workspace, and digital life to remove distractions and create a sense of calm. Keep your physical space tidy and intentional. Unsubscribe from unnecessary email lists. Remove apps that distract more than they serve you. Small environmental tweaks can yield disproportionately positive outcomes. Number 3, prioritize rest and recovery. Rest isn't a reward, it's a requirement for sustained well-being and performance. The 80-20 rule applies here. 20% of your rest and recovery habits probably account for 80% of your rejuvenation. Maybe it's a 20-minute meditation session that resets your mental state, or a weekly hike that reconnects you with nature, or simply a good night's sleep. Treat these as essential, not optional, parts of your life. Achieving balance by focusing on what truly matters. At its core, the 80-20 principle isn't just about maximizing output, it's about maximizing meaning. It's about creating space for the things, people, and experiences that truly enrich your life. Ask yourself, what are the 20% of activities, relationships, and habits that make me feel most alive? What would my life look like if I focused on those things and let go of the rest? The answers to those questions hold the key to balance. Not balance in the sense of perfect equality, but balance in the sense of alignment, where your time, energy, and attention are spent in ways that truly reflect your values and priorities. A life well lived, the 80-20 way. The 80-20 principle isn't just a productivity hack, it's a philosophy for living well. Whether in your career, your relationships, or your personal health, it reminds you that less is often more. A few meaningful actions, deep relationships, and focused habits will always outweigh scattered efforts, shallow connections, and endless busyness. As you close this book, remember this. Success isn't about doing everything, it's about doing the right things. So take a deep breath, step back, and ask yourself, what truly matters? What deserves my focus, my energy, and my presence? The answers are waiting. And with the 80-20 principle as your guide, you'll have the clarity, courage, and confidence to pursue them fully. This isn't just about business, it's about life. And when you focus on the vital few, you create space for a life that's not just productive, but deeply meaningful. Conclusion, your 80-20 roadmap to success. The 80-20 principle isn't just a productivity hack or a business tool. It's a fundamental truth about how the world works. Whether in economics, business, relationships, or personal well-being, a small fraction of inputs consistently drive a disproportionately large share of outcomes. And yet, so many people and businesses remain blind to this truth, spreading themselves thin across tasks, clients, and projects that barely move the needle. But you're different. You've reached the end of this book not just with knowledge, but with a new way of seeing the world, a lens that cuts through the noise and reveals where your true power lies. This isn't the end of your 80-20 journey, it's the beginning. In this final chapter, we'll summarize the key takeaways, outline a practical roadmap for applying the 80-20 principle in your business and life, and leave you with a call to action. a challenge to rethink not just how you work, but how you live. Key takeaways from the 80-20 principle. Not everything is equal. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts, products, customers, or tasks. Identify these high-impact 20% and focus your resources there. Simplify and streamline. Complexity kills focus. Eliminate low-value tasks, products, and distractions. Streamline workflows and processes to amplify what already works. Focus on high-leverage actions. Ask yourself, what one task, if completed, would create the biggest positive impact? Prioritize ruthlessly. Work smarter, not harder. Productivity isn't about being busy. It's about creating meaningful results. Strategic effort beats endless hustle every time. 80-20 is a mindset, not a one-time fix. Continuous reassessment and refinement are key. Make 80-20 thinking a habit, not a quarterly exercise. Measure what matters. Data reveals your vital 20%. Use it to guide your decisions. Track key metrics and ignore vanity numbers. Growth doesn't mean complexity. Scale by focusing on your strengths, not by adding layers of chaos. Growth should simplify, not complicate, your operations. 80-20 applies beyond business. In your personal life, focus on the relationships, habits, and activities that bring you the most fulfillment. Say no to the trivial many and yes to the vital few. Your step-by-step 80-20ths roadmap. Let's break down the process of applying the 80-20ths principle into actionable steps. Use this as your guide whenever you feel overwhelmed, scattered, or unsure where to focus. Step 1. Audit your inputs and outputs. Identify your biggest wins, whether they're products, clients, or habits. Track where your time, money, and energy are going. Ask, which 20% of my efforts, products, or clients are driving 80% of my results? Which 80% are consuming my resources without meaningful returns? Step 2. Eliminate or reduce the trivial many. Cut low-value tasks, products, or relationships that drain resources. Delegate or automate repetitive tasks. Say no to opportunities that don't align with your core strengths or goals. Ask, what can I stop doing entirely? What tasks or commitments add little to no value? Step 3. Double down on the vital few. Invest more resources, time, money, and attention in your highest impact activities. Nurture your best customers, optimize your best performing products, and refine your most productive habits. Ask, how can I maximize the impact of these high leverage areas? What would happen if I invested 2x more in what's already working? Step 4. Simplify and streamline. Simplify processes, workflows, and decision-making structures. Use tools and systems to reduce friction and automate where possible. Ask, is there a simpler way to achieve this result? What bottlenecks are slowing us down? Step 5. Build an 80-20 culture. Share the principle with your team. Reward results, not effort. Encourage regular reflection and reassessment of priorities. Ask, does my team understand what matters most? Are we measuring outcomes, not just activity? Step 6. Make continuous improvement a habit. Regularly revisit your priorities. Stay agile and adapt to changing circumstances. Embrace experimentation and iteration. Ask, are our top priorities still the right ones? Have new high-impact opportunities emerged? An inspiring call to action. Rethink, refocus, and redefine success. The 80-20 principle isn't just a strategy, it's an awakening. It's a realization that success doesn't come from doing everything, but from doing the right things. It's about working with clarity and purpose instead of endless busyness, saying no to distractions and yes to what truly matters, designing a business and life that feels intentional, fulfilling, and impactful. But theory isn't enough. The real magic happens when you act. So here's my challenge to you. Start today. Identify one area of your business or life where the 80-20ths principle could create immediate change. Take one decisive action to prioritize your 20% and reduce your 80%. Commit to revisiting this principle regularly, weekly, monthly, quarterly, until it becomes second nature. Remember, clarity is power. Simplicity is strength. Focus is everything. You already have the tools you need. Now it's time to wield them boldly. The 80-20 future awaits. Imagine waking up every day knowing you're focusing on the tasks, relationships, and activities that matter most. Imagine running a business where every dollar, hour, and ounce of energy is directed toward outcomes that create real value. That's the power of the 80/20th principle. This isn't just about productivity, it's about building a legacy. Whether you're leading a company, managing a team, or simply trying to live a more fulfilling life, the principle will serve as your guide, your filter, and your North Star. So go forth. Prioritize the vital few. Let go of the trivial many. Build something extraordinary, one focused step at a time. This is your 80/20 roadmap. The rest is up to you. Focus wisely, and success will follow.